second session of opening of the Landscape of Limits workshop. Now we are in more intimate area, so without guests and institutions. So we are going to talk about the organization of the workshop itself, of the topics. I want also to say something about some organization. If you have any question, or I'm talking to students for sure, if you have any question or something to say or to add, maybe you can write it in the chat, and also in this way we can arrange better different intervention of inputs. Now, together with Sara and other colleagues, we are presenting first a part of the program, and the program in terms of what we are doing, what are our aims and goals, and how we have managed this our small villages of 70 students and some tutors and professors. And after that, we are entering better in the topic of the workshop. So what we are asking you to work about and what we are presenting in 2 weeks. The first presentation, so I'm doing together with colleagues, is about the organization of the workshop itself. So some also practical and technical information. Here we have briefly inserted some questions of elements of a sort of passports of our workshop. So as you know, we are in the first edition. It's the virtual first edition for the emergency we are living through. We are starting today and we are finishing in 2 weeks. So the final day is Friday, September the 11th. We have already said, but the workshop is organized by the Master of Science in Sustainable Architecture and Landscape Design. Some students, some of you are registered in the master itself, and in the Piacenza campus of Politecnico di Milano. Despite the virtuality, okay, we have our headquarters in the Piacenza campus of Politecnico. The workshop is made of 2 main parts. So the first one is the design activity made of in international atelier, but the process is also affected and impacted by a series of lectures we are giving you. There are 5 different lectures in the program, and later we can go in depth with that. We have already said, also our director Sara said during the presentation, this event, this workshop is a new story. We are starting today. Today is the birth of this new story, but it's with a sort of tradition. The tradition is made of the experience of the Master of Science in Sustainable Architecture and Landscape Design, so the course of study of Piacenza campus of Politecnico di Milano. It is a tradition for the workshop itself, because we can see that in the master itself there are some points of identity we can find in the workshop we are starting today. So an international environment, contemporary approaches, both in terms of topics and in terms of didactic, so a sort of innovation in the teaching modalities, and in talking about topics and issues, an attempt to integrate architecture and landscape design within the same activity. We are in a virtual campus. We have said earlier, this instead is what we are losing, is our campus. I'm trying to start with the video. The campus of Piacenza Politecnico di Milano is made of 2 different campuses. This is the first one is the campus Sarata, the former slaughterhouse of the city. This is the so-called Caserma della Neve. It's a pity we cannot be there together, because it's a fantastic site, a fantastic place where to organize such workshops, because this structure in pavilion is very interesting for this type of activities. This is what we are losing in terms of emails. This is one of the pavilion where our activity of teaching are organized and are done. In fact, and Sarah has already said during the presentation, the LOL workshop, so the Landscape of Limits International Workshop, take the place of an international summer school that together with Guia Bertelli and some of us, we have organized it for 10 years from 2010 to 2019. So it was an international summer school with a strong, I can say, quantity and quality. You can, if you are interested, you can read something on the website inschool.polimi.it. In 10 years, we have hosted more than 1,000 students attending the school in the campus we have seen in the previous slide. So we have organized more 150 days of workshops involving 250 between among professors and tutors from different schools in the world, and more than 250 lecturers in a cycle, in dense cycles of lecture itself. Now we are starting a different story, I guess. Sarah maybe can be clearer and deeper on this point, shifting a bit our focus, shifting from the traditional architectural design to a landscape design, seeing the multiple dimensions of contemporary transformation. For sure, also the COVID pandemic we are living through calls all of us toward a wide and important reconsideration of our habitats. And the case study we have chosen for the fourth edition of this workshop can be a fantastic opportunity to discuss also about this new needs and expectation from the habitat itself. So the relationship and connection among Piacenza as a city and among the Po River means to go in depth with some topics connected with architectural and landscape design, and taking into account the question of limits itself of landscape. But as we can imagine, we have already talked about virtuality. The occasion to start at the end of August 2020. This workshop means also to deal with the condition we are living through. So these are some words our rector Ferruccio Resta sent all the students, all the professors some days ago, talking about the necessity to resume university life. So it is what we are trying to do together, despite the virtuality, in order that the university, so what we are doing together now, is not reduced to a transmission and knowledge, but it is an experience, and both from a human and professional point of view. So we are building an experience, and from today to next Friday. And for sure, we need also to turn this difficult moment, these criticalities, into an opportunity. And we have tried to manage and to translate this opportunity also in the canals and in modalities we have decided to imagine and to work this workshop. So we have a virtual dimension, for sure, a virtual dimension that is made of two different parts. The first one is the Microsoft Teams environment. So the environment, the area where we are now, talking now in our virtual classes. We have opened not just these classes, that is the class number 0, we can say, where all the plenary activities we will manage in. So all the presentation, or the midterm and final discussion of the project, all the lectures are going to be done all together here in this class. So this is okay. Now we are in, so you don't need the link to enter. Anyway, this is the link if you need in another moment. We have a larger class, and this is the area where all the students, the professor and tutors are meeting for plenary activities. But as you know, you will divide it into three different ateliers. We are presenting later. Each atelier is autonomous and independent by the design process. So professor and tutors are free to decide within the atelier environment how to go on and to move on with the process of the design. And each atelier has to have its own class. So we have opened it, and I guess you have already received this morning the invitation. We have opened three different classes, virtual classes, always on the three teams environment. In class number 1 will be professor, tutor, and students of atelier number 1, and so on for class number 2 and class number 3. We kindly invite you to use these classes, because it's like we are giving you a pavilion of the campus or a class in our Politecnico buildings. So there is the area where you are meeting in the morning, you are working with your mates, you are discussing with professor and tutors, and you are working as in a normal class. But and we have already said you a few minutes ago, we have also another environment in a second area. It is the website we have designed. Well, Sara Sapone has designed, the landscape of limits.com. We kindly invite you also to share with the colleagues, friends, girlfriend, or mothers or fathers this website, because we would like that it is not just a sort of showcase of what we are doing within the landscape, within the workshop, and what we are experimenting and testing within the area of the project, but also a place of sharing information and materials. So we hope that every day we will be able in the different atelier to upload materials, upload images, upload just slogans or some words, in order that it has to be, we need to manage, to find out, to figure out some places where to move on with the workshop, and the virtuality ask us also to find a virtual moment. And the website is something we think is very important to use for the success of the workshop itself. Now I'm showing you better all the names and people involved in the organization. And we have already presented, okay, our director, Sara Protosoni, together with the coordination and the student office. We have an executive board, Marco Mareggi, Andrea Oldani, and Matteo Poli are colleagues from Politecnico di Milano. They are all teaching in the campus of Piacenza. Maybe some of you have already met them during the career. They have helped a lot, and they are helping us during the process in order to figure out topics and issues that are maybe more topical and interesting to work on during this moment. The workshop is promoted by Politecnico di Milano, Campus di Piacenza, and Master of Science in Sustainable Architecture and Landscape Design, and by its financial point of view is strongly supported by Poli Piacenza. Poli Piacenza is an association involving some institution from the city, and is giving some financial support to organize the workshop. We have a lot of patrocin, so we have asked, and the collaboration with all the city is very important for us. So Comune di Piacenza, Provincia di Piacenza, Regione Emilia-Romagna, all the political and administrative institutions are supporting us, are giving us ideas, are discussing with us about topics to work on. Also, the economic system of the city itself, Camera di Commercio and Confindustria, is helping us. as well as Coldiretti Piacenza, who is an association collecting all the farmers of the city of the area. We have an interesting support also by Consorzio di Bonifica di Piacenza, which is working about agriculture and water for agriculture. And for sure, we have met Giuseppe Baracchi, the president of the Council of Architects of Piacenza, because both the Council of Architects of Piacenza and the Council of Architects at the Italian level, so the national level, are supporting the workshop itself. Some of architects and colleagues, I guess, are also attending our activities and are attending our series of lectures. We have a media partnership, Il Giornale dell'Architettura.com is an Italian newspaper dedicated to architecture and landscape topics, and on the website, so Il Giornale dell'Architettura.com is following, we are uploading some materials and articles and essays on the activities we are doing during these 2 weeks. So we are also looking for a visibility of our activity within the workshop. And the workshop itself, it is in its first edition, but it wants to be also the condition to start building a geography, a net of connection and interaction with different universities, both on Italian and international levels. So we have already met this morning Juan Carlos Rojas Arias and Dirk Juncker from the School of Toulouse and the School of Osnabrück. Some students registered in the workshop are from these schools, but in our scientific advisory board, they are represented the great part of Italian university about architecture. So with some professors, you can read here their names, that are supporting us in terms of giving ideas, discussing with us about topics, and they are also participating in our midterm and final discussion in order to be useful for your activity of design itself. We have already said, later we are also presenting the different approaches. The workshop is working in atelier. Each atelier is completely independent. This year, discussing a lot with Sarah and other colleagues about the best format for the workshop, and then we have decided to manage this condition, this format, where we have invited some friends and colleagues and to manage different ateliers. They are not just professors, they are also architects professionals from different geographical areas, and also with different approaches and identities. Later they are presenting us better. Atelier 1 is led by Hope Strode and Federico De Molfetta. They are a professional firm in Lugano, in the Italian part of Switzerland, and they are working with 3 different tutors, who are Alessandra Barzalotti, Erze Dinarama, sorry for the pronunciation, and Susanna Lindvall. Atelier number 2 instead is led by Marco Navarra and Maria Marino. Marco Navarra and Maria Marino are 2 architects from Sicily. The firm is an engineering society. The name is NOWA, Navarra Office Walking Architecture. They are supported by 3 younger colleagues from Studio Analogique, Claudia Cosentino, Dario Felice, and Antonio Rizzo, together with Liliana Adamo. Instead, the atelier number 3 is led and directed by Valerio Morabito, Valerio of APS Landscape. APS Landscape is a spin-off of working about topics of architecture and landscape. Francesca Garzilli is helping him in managing the tutoring and activity in the design. They are, I repeat, from different geographical areas. So Canton Ticino from Atelier number 1, Sicilia from Atelier 2, and Calabria, Reggio Calabria from Atelier 3. They are also different type of firms, so study traditional, we can say, architectural and landscape study as the one by Federico and Hope, an engineering society by Marco, and a spin-off by Valerio. So the idea is to have a strong integration of what we are doing as a university at Politecnico di Milano and the opening as we can also with the professional situation. We are 19, well, we are together students registered in the workshop are 69, 54 are Polimi students from different campuses of Politecnico di Milano. Some are from Piacenza, some are from other campuses, and 15 from partner international school, the great part from Toulouse and Osnabrück. In terms of internationality, 20 different nationalities are represented, so we are a real international environment. Here is the program. As you can see, it's a quite dense program. Each day, we are from now till next Friday, we are meeting. You are meeting within the atelier. So just Sunday is day off. Next Sunday. For the rest, we imagine to work all the days and more or less from 10 a.m. till 6-7 p.m. It means that we have a sort of normal day work of 8 hours each day. Then we are conscious that we are in a workshop, so maybe there are some days that are 24 hours long, but this is part of the experiences. So also despite the green part of the program that are the plenary activities, so this opening Philip Ram lectures tonight, the other discussion, the other lectures, that the timetable is very strict and precise. So we need to be in the class 0 of our Microsoft Teams at that hour because we are starting with the activity. We guess that the other timetable is you can agree about it with your team leader. So we say that this afternoon you can meet in each class at 2 p.m., but you are free to decide 1:30 or 2:30 according to different programs. For sure, it's important, but your tutors are very conscious about it, know that it's important for each student to be present, to work in the workshop, because at the end, you will have the 8 credits, the 6 credits for attending the workshop itself. So we need to be very serious about it. As you can see, this 11 days we have arranged in order to insert 5 different lectures. We are starting tonight at 6 p.m. with Philip Ram. Then we are hosting next Thursday, always at 6 p.m. Gareth Doherty. When we are presenting the lecture, we are going in depth with biography and also reasons, because we have invited this international professor and architects. Next week, instead, we have 2 different lectures during the week itself. Mario Sunyer Diaz on Monday from Battle Roig Architects of Barcelona, and a theoretian and historic scholar about architecture as Hans Ibelings on Tuesday. Instead, we are closing our program with James Corner from James Corner Field Operations. I guess you know him and them very well for their amazing recent contemporary project on the last day, so Friday 11th. The program of design is made of through 3 different moments. We are having on Wednesday in the night at 6 p.m. a midterm discussion. That means a sort of presenting, each atelier is presenting the approach of the design you want to follow. Instead, we have a deeper discussion about project, like preliminary ideas and visions of the project in the midterm discussion number 2, planned for Friday the 4th at 2 p.m. And instead, the final presentation where you are called to present the atelier work and the atelier design final work to not just to a panel of discussion, but also to the city. We can say we are re-inviting the municipality and some other people in the afternoon of a Friday. For the rest, what you can see with the white text is atelier time. So atelier time, you are in the class, you are divided, you can, together with your professor and tutors of the atelier, you are free to understand how to divide it better. You can meet on Teams, you can design on the shared blackboard, you can talk with WhatsApp or Skype. The point is to move on with the process of design itself. According to this program, then I ask also colleagues if everything was clear, if they have something to add or to integrate. I want to share with you just this last slide about contacts. Okay, you know how to contact us through the email or through the chat in the Teams virtual classes. Let's try to imagine this organization for everything concerning organization, question about the coordination, the workshop itself, the credits and so on. Let's contact the coordinator of the workshop. So you can write us at lol.polyme.it. Instead, for everything regarding design, so also problems about design. I don't like what my mates is doing. Just an example. Try to talk with tutor, and then if we need something more or deeper, we can discuss also together as coordination. So this is what concerns the program and the format of the workshop. I ask Sarah and other colleagues if you have something to integrate, or maybe if you have any question to share with us, we can try to reply now.
For me, I don't have anything to add. It's already perfect. Thank you, Michele.
Okay, if you have not other question, I guess we can go on entering within the most interesting and most important part of the presentation, of opening this opening about. Sorry, I need to give me 1 second. Yeah, I guess now, and I'm talking well, representing all the teams, so also Sarah and other colleagues can integrate and stop me whenever they want. Now I'm presenting you briefly. Give me 20 minutes, half an hour. What is Piacenza? What is the topic we are dealing with? Which is our battlefield of the workshop. I'm talking with, I don't know, some of you are living, some of the students are living in Piacenza, some of the colleagues and professors and tutors know the city very well, so sorry for my repetitions, but I'm trying to give a brief of the city as if you are landing from Mars or from the moon this morning. This is Piacenza. This is Piacenza from the sky. Here in the left, right, and the bottom part, there is our campus, just to have some part. This is the historical city center with the Roman layout of the city, and you can see on the right part of the photo taken from east to west the Po River. This is the Po River. Instead, this one is the Trebbia River entering in the Po. This is the situation we are working with. So a city that is in a quite paradoxical situation to be a city very, very, very close to the most important Italian river, so the Po River, but without leaving the river, with a few possibilities to leave the river itself, because during the years, all this buffer zone between the city and the river itself was crowded by infrastructure, but by some other uses, maybe sometimes very incoherent of the soil itself. So what we are looking at is exactly in this buffer zone between the urbanization of the city and what's happening in the northern limits. These are some data about Piacenza. Piacenza is a typical middle-sized Italian town, so something more than 100,000 inhabitants, with a quite interesting and important rate of foreign people living there, about 20%. It's a city living of agriculture, industry, and in the last period also of tourism. Piacenza is from this, there in the previous slide we were from the sky, here we are from a satellite. Piacenza is this spot in the northern part of Pianura Padana, and the snake line you can see, it's exactly its own river, so the Po River, flowing from Monviso, from the Alps in the western part of Italy, till Adriatic Sea, close Ferrara, here in the eastern part of the city. The Po River is something strongly giving a strong identity to the northern Italy itself. It is the limit of the so-called Pianura Padana, one of the most productive in terms of agriculture site in the whole Europe. Piacenza is more or less in the middle part of the Po, where the river itself is building this sort of meander and its flows, giving a strong geography. These are some data about the Po River. For Italian students, it's something you have to study during elementary school, but sometimes we remember 650 kilometers long. The flow rate is 1,500 cubic meters per second. That means, just saying that we cannot understand anything, but it means that it is the 5th European river in terms of flow rate. So something important, a lot of water is passing through it. The basin is enormous, 71,000 square kilometers. That more or less, it means a great part of the northern Italy, where less something between 15 and 20 millions of people are living in the area. What is quite important is that just 3.5 now, I'm explaining why, 3.5 cities, Italian cities, are on the river itself. So Torino, it is on the river. Piacenza and Cremona are very, very, very close to the flows of river, but they are not cities on the river, and the same more or less for Ferrara. So it is a river without a strong urbanity, we can say. And yesterday, or some days ago, I was checking some information. According to a study research of Politecnico di Torino, just 77 bridges are on the Po River. So it's a river not a lot urbanized, we can say. This instead is about the condition of Piacenza in terms of geographic situation. Piacenza has one of its own key points and identity points in the centrality. Centrality because it is on the Via Emilia connecting Milano and Bologna, as you can see, and between an east-west axis connecting Torino and Venezia. So we are in a sort of very central and strategic location. This also because of the presence of the river, and this means during the years the development of such economic activities. One economic activity is the military interest in the area. So Piacenza is rich of military areas. One of the most recent impact of this condition is, for example, the development of logistic activity, not in the city of Piacenza, but just around the city, in the province of Piacenza. There are some of the larger warehouse and deposit of international firms such as IKEA or Amazon are located there because it is very simple and smart and fast to get Piacenza. This also because these two lines are corresponding more or less with two motorways. So in Piacenza there are a cross between two different motorways. The first one is the central spine of Italian system of infrastructure. It is the motorway A1 connecting Milano, passing through Piacenza, going to Bologna, then Firenze, Roma, and Napoli. The A1 motorway is crossing exactly in Piacenza with another motorway that is A21 and is connecting Torino, Brescia, that is somewhere here, and then going to Venezia. So this central position and this central location is something important, also affecting the condition and the geographical condition of the city itself. Here is a diagram, the diagram with the city. Piacenza is this, the central core of the city, the sprawled area of the city from the last century, the course of the Po River, and here are just some lines giving an idea where the motorways are passing in. The motorway A21 is this line is exactly in the buffer zone between the city and the river. So the name of our workshop is Landscape of Limits, because limits are a condition we need to face with, trying to understand and to managing stronger interaction between the city. There are the limits that are natural limits or normal limits, such as the dike of the river. There are a lot of infrastructural and artificial limits during the years overlapped the condition. Sarah, maybe you want to add something about this general introduction. Then I want to go in depth with 5 different points that are the 5 points we have also divided our website. So talking about geography, talking about history, talking about nature, agriculture, and at least narrations.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So the geographic condition is something we need to face with, and strongly impacting when we talk about river, when we talk about agricultural condition. This is an interpretative map connecting 2 of the cities we are talking. Piacenza is this one. So on the south border of the river, a river that I have not said earlier. It's quite important to understand that the river is in this part, so from Piacenza here to Cremona, here in the northern part of the river. The Po River is also the regional border of for Italy. So in the southern part we have Emilia-Romagna, in the northern part we have Lombardy. Now the regional border is something not so important. We can say, okay, important but not so impacting. Imagine during the year, during the history, that such a border needed also something connecting with different economic and social and political condition. I'm showing here and in the next slide some historical map. We are not in historical workshop, so I'm not going depth about data, who done and who did and so on, but some points are important for us addressing our design activities. Here an image taken from the north, from Milano, we can say. We see the river, we see Piacenza here, and we see the Appennino in the back part. So Piacenza is looking to the north with the limit of the river, but it's looking also to the south with a sort of plain becoming mountains and Appennino. You can see very clear this condition in this quite suggesting diagrams, where this is the Roman custom of the first core of Piacenza, the Po River in the first part of the slide, then the agricultural system in the back, and the mountain dividing Emilia-Romagna from Liguria, and then going to south to the sea. Going quite depth about the system of urbanization, we can get here, and this line, this square, is more or less focusing what we are looking at during our workshop. So buffer zone between most urbanized part in the south of the city. Here is the central core. Here is the industrial and logistic part, and the river itself. From west to east, our limit are the Trebbia River, that is this one, flowing into the Po, and this line is also the municipal border in the west part of the city. And instead, here we can see later better, we have the motorway, the A1 motorway bridge on the river, and it's closing more or less this field. We look at the area of more or less 7 kilometers from the Trebbia to the bridge. Here, quite closing, so the Trebbia is this area, and the bridge is here. This map is also quite suggesting, because it is mixing how the bridge moved, how the river moved during the centuries. So what we see, the Po and the Trebbia, is not what in the century was. So we have a mobility and dynamic of the water itself, or the flow of the river, that sounds more strict and sounds more stable in the central part, where two different bridges, one is the road bridges, the second one is the railway bridges, are connecting directly Piacenza with the northern, so with Lombardia, and then the northern and Milano. What we have said in terms of geography, and you can find also with the text also in the website, is strongly linked with the history. So what happened during centuries in the city. I repeat, we are not historians, so we are going just to take some information and to use it for the design. In this series of 3 maps, we have the Roman situation. We have left in black the river situation as it is today. So imagine that the river changed, I repeat, during times, but this is the condition of the Roman custom, so the historical city center of Piacenza still today, and in its relationship with the river. This is what's happening in the medieval situation. It's important to focus on it, because the presence of the river meant during times that the city evolution, the city development was in the south. This is also connected with the question of political border, I was saying. Piacenza is the capoluogo di provincia, is the city capital of a territory looking at the south. So in the north, there is the river, that this means during period markets, so means richness, but means also dangers. But what's happening in the development is completely in the south, and you can see it also in this period, the Renaissance period. So the city center and what's happening in the southern condition, that is bringing to a contemporary condition, that is this one. So the city center, the 18th and 19th and then 20th century urbanization, and a strong logistic and industrial part in the eastern part of the territory, This development was mainly devoted to the fact that this is the line, the axis of Via Emilia. So in Piacenza started an ancient road that is still present, connecting Piacenza with Parma and other cities along in Emilia-Romagna towards Bologna and then towards the city. This overlapping of systems and of period is very clear in the city itself. So you can see more or less still today the Roman Castro with the Cardo and the Cumano. The Cumano is corresponding with the Via Emilia itself. These are the Farnesian walls. Some of them are still resisting, mainly in this part of the city and this part. Walls, as you can imagine, means also to protect from the river during the period. You can find a lot of historical images, just a brief selection of what was the river Po for Piacenza during period. In this image, in the other image, you can find one of the character, or in my view, the most important character is that the Po was intended as an occasion for economy, an occasion for leisure time, maybe more in ancient time that it happened today, but means also the question of bypassing, and you can see in this image the importance of the two bridges present also today in the central part of the city. That means also this is not an historical image, it's something happening just 15 years ago with the collapse of the road bridge. So it means also dangers. These days we have seen in the northern part of Italy storms and a lot of problems with trainings. Imagine that here we are in the most important Italian river, which means also some danger situations. But the last point I want to share with you about this image, the river is a part of the city in terms of economy, in terms of belonging to the city itself, but there is always the listen, can you hear me?
Michele,
Yes.
non ti sento più.
Yes.
Okay. Adesso? Ok, scusa, penso sia sconnesso. I was saying that another point is that there is a sort of a weird relation and interaction, river and city. Always these limits were always present also in the mind of people itself. Now I'm going on and showing some other historical images. In all of them, this is a fantastic representation of the Po, and this is the central part with Piacenza. What I want to tell, to underline, and to stress in this image and the other ones is that the city is a close form, a close figure, and the relation with the river is always very separate. This buffer zone still existing as with its own identity was also in the history. So you can see in this one, you can see in this one with agricultural lands between the city and the water, or in this one that is overlapping the different flows of the river, the same theme and topic we were discussing a few minutes ago. This bring to a sort of place of contrast. So this buffer zone that you see represented in different grays, where during time site and location for different and sometimes incoherent and paradoxical uses of the soil of itself. It's like in this part of the city, developments puts what you don't know where to put. So infrastructural, the station, the railways, some industrial and logistic condition. This in a strange and weird integration and interaction with resistant agricultural field and resistant natural environment. It is what the contemporary, we can say, strategic plan of the city is getting. So the buffer zone is made of some green parts with some other that are blue, that are representing instead the industrial uses of the soil. This strategic plan is telling us also another point I want to stop briefly, that there is here you see very clearly the A1 motorway. This is the line, and the A21 motorway. This is the line. So we have a incredible junction of flows of mobility in this part of the city today. There is a plan that is not a project, it's an idea, a vision, to cut more or less the urban part of the A21 motorway, this one, and to bypass it with a new connection in the northern part of the city. This means, that could mean in the future to open an idea of possibility, but these possibilities are still open today, still open with some of the projects that are in progress, and for sure with the inputs of our project in the workshop we are doing. Going fast to the end, the third part is nature. I'm sharing with you some other image. We have seen in the first slide of this presentation the east-west scene from the sky. This is the other direction, so from the west to the east. Here we are more or less close to where the Trebbia River is flowing and is entering. Imagine here in the Po River. We can see here the city itself. At the end, in this part, we can see some logistic and industrial area. At the end of the flow, one of the bridge closing our battlefield in the area. This is the area we have already talked. So from the two sides of the city, instead with reference with this image in the north, where you can see a red line that is representing the south dike of the Po River. The dike, so the system, the natural, not natural, artificial system controlling the overflows and the flooding of the Po. I'm talking you to a very fast trip from the Trebbia River, from this part, from the west part of our area till the area. So you can see these images all taken from the dike. The dike is a cycle and pedestrian way, so we are looking always to north. Our back, there is the city, there is this strange urbanization I was talking about. In the north part, there are all the overflowing. You can see very natural environment, mainly in this part, in the western sector of the dike. We can see very natural environment. Now we are entering very close to the city center, so this is the viaduct of the A21 motorway. Instead, these two are the bridges in the central part of the city. So approaching the city, approaching the most urbanized part, we are entering into this maybe chaotic system with overlapping and integration of different materials and uses. Instead, here we are going outside, we are going to the east. This is the A1 motorway bridge over the Po. So we are entering in a more natural environment with poplars, trees, and with agricultural fields. Now I'm showing you just some other image, trying to understand and to share with you this overlapping and integration of materials. So the material is the water, is the nature, but it is also the infrastructure. So this is the railway bridge you are passing. You are traveling on when you are going in Piacenza by train. This instead is the high fast train overlapping the Po River. In terms of limits, in terms of lines, this is a part of the Farnesian resisting walls, closing the northern border of the city itself. And in terms of, well, we have discussed a lot about infrastructure, about lines, as you can see in these diagrams. It is territory, not just a city, it's a territory, because, okay, the Po River is a limit for sure, but we cannot imagine it without connection. It is a place where the strategic location, the central location, move on a strong integration of, a strong presence of mobility axis at national and international level, and this means we have already talked that some of these axes are covered with the logistic production and whatever you can find on mobility axis in the Western world. One of the materials, one of the most important materials, is for sure the agriculture. This frame taken by, well, Google Earth image, you can take wherever you want, is giving an amazing prompt of what is the mosaic of agricultural lands in this part of the city, in this part of the territory. So Pianura Padana is the greatest Italian part for agriculture. There is a strong production, mainly of tomatoes in Piacenza areas, but you can see in the southern part of the city the presence of the agriculture, but also the buffer zone we are talking about here. Agricultural system is one of the most impacting element and material. You can get it also from some historical maps. So the water of the river, the water of Trebbia here and water of Po was also an occasion to have productive agricultural fields. All along the river itself, the presence of the agriculture is very strong. And in this diagram, we have tried to present what are the resisting lines of agricultural field. That is quite amazing to understand how the lines and direction are changing because of the condition are changing, impacted by the flows of river itself, and how you can get a continuity that is bypassing the river. So this river, in some parts, it is a strong limit. In some other, it is a sort of permeable and porous threshold. I guess this is the last image of about agriculture. Imagine that what we are seeing in our buffer zone, in our design area here, just 50 years ago, 60 years ago, this is a situation in the middle of the 50s, was quite different. Okay, the agricultural field were still present. This is an overlapping because this is the A21 motorway that build a limit going to overlap on existing fields. Talking about agriculture, we cannot forget that there is a question of water. Okay, the flooding of water for Trebbia and for Po River is something strong and impacting and important. This is a historical map telling us how the historical city center and the central core of Piacenza was during time bypassed by a system of small rivers bringing water to the Po. This is one of the questions. Here the water is coming from south, from the mountain, and the connection with the Po is bringing water into the Po, not on the contrary. So this system was the occasion not to overflow the southern part of the city and to bring it fastly into the Po. This instead is a contemporary image from the municipal plan. More or less all the flow of the river within the city, bypassing the city, where are now underneath or completely closed. So we have a system where a great part of the river go on the west, so entering in the Trebbia, and another part go on east, entering in the with another river. I don't remember now the name, entering here in the Po. So between these two small rivers going into the main river, the Po River, there is the system of water, a system of water that is strongly giving impact on the territory, environment, and landscape, and so on. The last part, and then I'm giving the floor to Sarah to add something to go in depth with the topic, is about narration. As you can imagine, the most important Italian river was occasion during years, mainly during the last century, for histories, cinemas, story, and narrations. Today there is also this year there is the narration in the website. In our website, we have inserted a YouTube link for a very interesting documentary film by Paolo Rumis. Paolo Rumis is an Italian journalist and writer. It is Sveglio del Fiume Segreto, the secret river rebirth. Now I want to share with you. I hope the audio is working. I want to show you just 1 minute of this documentary film. I'm sorry, it is in Italian, but I think it's quite clear to understand. Otherwise, your tutor can help you, because it's not just about images, but because it's saying something interesting about the Po that is can be also a good tool to address our work on these areas. Non funziona l'audio? Doesn't work. Can you hear? No.
No, purtroppo l'audio
Okay.
non funziona.
Okay, I can just you can take the link. Rumitz is telling something interesting, because he's saying that imagine to travel along the Po in a sort of very artificial situation, cities, men, people, infrastructure, and so on. Instead, he found a very natural environment, so very surprised about it. It's interesting to understand how they are imagining that the man is a sort of enemy of the river. So we don't think so, but we think that there is also a limit, a border we need to understand, not just in terms of physical border, but a border also what's happening in our minds. How to understand the river itself in a more smart and better way. So this is I can say the final our final battlefield, the plan we need to work with, to play with, to fight with, understanding that we have a west gate, a west limit here with the Trebbia River, and east limit here with the highway bridge, a dike connecting all these elements, at the city in the south, and something to discover in the north. So I pray Sarah to maybe on this image to tell something and to go on with this presentation.
Thank Michele for this very rich presentation. I just underline things that you have already said, few things. The first thing, as a landscape designer, I would like you to pay attention to it, is that we are in the Po plain, the Po River plain, but you should not think the Po River plain as a flat surface with only one dimension. you can look at it more as a bas relief, like a corrugated surfaces, because each time you have a road, a railway, the big infrastructure, and also the canal, as you know, the edges of these elements and the position of the elements is changing the level of the ground, and the ground is then moving. So the countryside around Piacenza has really to be seen carefully, even paying attention to very small differences in the levels. Within this general idea, we have to remember that Piacenza was really built close, near a ford. And basically, if you go through the historical maps, you see that the riverbed changed, but basically the point where Piacenza was built didn't move so much as other parts because of geological reasons that we can also inquire, but not this time. And this persistence of the position of the ford is quite interesting. Second aspect, it is that, of course, Piacenza already from the Roman time and even before was built paying a lot of attention to the flood risk. So the city in itself, there was before a map showing the Roman castrum with the contour lines. The city in itself was built somehow on an ancient terrace, which is about 6 meters above the riverbed level. So it's not a big distance. We are not working in the mountainside, but this condition is quite interesting also when you develop your strategy according to following the river bed. So if we do some cross sections of the river bed, somehow we understand very clearly this dualism between different levels, the riverbed and the ground and the soil all around it, which was reinforced, as Michele already explained, by these defense works, so that we have really this kind of master embankment, two different system of master embankments, one in the south part of the river and the other in the north part of the river. It's a complex section. We can share with you the image, very interesting, which is also today used, as we will see, and also Michele already mentioned, for this kind of slow tourism way of crossing the floodplain. This idea of the bas relief is also related to the fact that infrastructure had always to define a very precise relation with the ground, because the water system is so complex and you have agriculture. Very often the big infrastructure realized in the modern time were either on embankment in themselves or on kind of elevated structures with pillars, so that the ground could continue underneath and we could avoid to interrupt the circulation of water, for example, or also the circulation in the agricultural field. So my suggestion is really to pay a lot of attention with this question of the relation between soil and water in the development of this site between city and the river in itself. I think this is the only main thing I would like to add. Of course, in the material we have shared with you, you can find some quick information that can be developed more about the critical condition. It's true that Paolo Rumit says, I am here and I think to be in a kind of natural environment. As landscape architect, we know that the landscape here is not really a natural landscape, because it is a result of a lot of processes, some intentional, some not, where agriculture used the river as a kind of infrastructure for producing the main activity, for the main activity of agriculture. So it's a kind of the second, third nature, we could say, where somehow we read natural-like phenomena that are not exactly like this. And there are also kind of very problematic situations related to the pollution of water, to the erosion of the main system of the river due to the realization of infrastructure for taking the water out of the river in itself, but there are also, in terms of natural phenomenon, some kind of invasions of animal, but even more vegetation, which is somehow colonizing the complete environment, and it is considered very dangerous for preserving the biodiversity, and somehow it's a kind of phenomenon we should pay a lot of attention to. So it's true that it is appearing as a natural environment, but I would like to stress the fact that it is a kind of very delicate and unstable and natural environment where somehow the interventions should be defined, paying attention also to this phenomenon that in the field of agriculture, but more natural sciences are understood. We have now to say a few words. If there are no questions about this part, in the chat, someone wrote if we share, of course we share this presentation. It's already in the folder, I think, that was set for all the students, but we can also maybe, if it is not too heavy, put it in the chat of this, in the chat of this room. I don't know, Michele, if it is possible.
Yes, for sure. Now maybe we are doing a PDF file and we are sharing it.
Okay.